Welcome back everyone to another Unreal Engine 4 tutorial. This is episode 53 and we are going to create a save and load game system that will work in our multiplayer system as well, rather than just a regular single player system which we created in the previous video. I will explain everything that needs to be done, so technically you don't have to watch the previous video, but it would be better if you would, because that's some extra knowledge for you guys. If you have been going through the whole series, make sure you stay till the end of the video because I have some important announcement to make. So let's begin with the tutorial. The first thing, we need to create quite a few things. I will go to my third-person blueprint folder, and inside of here we need to create a save file. I have already created this from the previous video, but if you don't know how to make this, click the blueprint class, type in save game, and here we have this save game blueprint class. I have already this created over here, and inside of here we have all our variables that we want to save. But if we want to do this in the multiplayer system, we can simply delete all of these variables because they will have no use for us. So now if we have our save game, we should create a blueprint structure. I'm gonna call this S players saves, I guess. Seems to be a good name. And in here now we need to create all of those variables. So I will actually go to my third-person character, and I will look for these variables, and I will recreate these in a structure. So I'm gonna go and do this right now, and I'll be back in a second once I'm done. So now I have all of my variables set up that I want to be saved, and now we have one more thing that we want to add to this save file. So I will create a new variable, and actually I might bring this to the top. There we go, and I will call this player name. And this is going to be the thing how we are going to detect our players by their names. So I will make sure that this is a text type of a variable, and I will save this. Now we can close this structure off, and we need another structure. This is going to be a super simple one, so blueprints structure, and I'm going to call this S players DB. And here we need two variables. The first one I'm going to call player, which is going to be an actor type, and the other one is going to be the player name, which is going to be a text. So a simple structure. Now in our third-person character, I will create a new variable, and I'm going to call this players DB, and I will use this as players DB structure. And we need to make sure that this is an array, so we can fit multiple players inside of this. So now we can compile and save this. And let's see. I guess this is all that we need as of right now for the variables. The next thing what we should probably do is open up our save, and we should create a new variable, and I'm gonna call this saves, and this needs our S players save structure, which needs to be an array, so we can store multiple saves in here. So this is also set up. Let me see. The next thing what we should probably do is create a custom controller for our character. This is something that usually people have already done this far into the project, but we don't have it. So I will create a blueprint class of a player controller, and I will call this my controller. And now I want to open up my playable map. Let's make sure we save everything in the lobby map. And now if we would click here in the world settings, and here we have a player controller, and we need to change this to my controller. So now we can save this and go back to our lobby map. There we go. So that has been set up. The next thing what we should probably do is start creating the system. So let's begin slow. the first thing what we should probably do is add the player name somehow to the player. We can use a simple variable of a text type, or I will do a text render component, and I will call this player name render, and I will make sure that this is replicated component. I will move this to the top of the character so that it would be right above my character, and I will horizontal alignment this to the center. So now this is done, and the next thing, let me see, what should I do? Probably we should create some custom events for when the player joins. So I will right click, custom event, and I will call this player joined, and I will run this on server. And from here we need two inputs. The first one needs to be the actor. I will call this player, which should be an actor type, and the other one is the player name, and this needs to be a text. There we go. So now we can cast to third person character, but not this one. We need to get player character with the ID 0. So basically we need the server character right now. And from this server character we need to get players DB, this variable right here. Don't drag this in, this is not gonna work, I think. So drag this from the third person character with the ID 0. And once you have this, then we need to add, and we need to add to our RI. So we need to split the structure pin, and here we can connect the player and the player name right here. So now once the player joins, our server character will get the information and add them to the player database, and they will know that we have a new player in the game. So now what we can do is drag from this player's database and do a loop for each loop, like so. And now we should split this structure, and now we can cast to third person character by using the player from the database, and then we need another custom event. So I'm gonna create a custom event, and I'm gonna call this refresh players, and this needs to be ran on server, and this needs to have an input which will be the players DB with also a players DB structure RI. There we go. And now we can run this event. So as this third person character, we need to refresh players, and we need to connect the players database from the server character to this output. There we go. So what this basically will do is, once the player joins, the server will add a player to its database. Then it's going to loop through the database and tell every single player that we need to refresh the player list. This will basically set the name on the top of the head for every single player, rather than just the server player. So now that this is set up, we can actually comment this, and this will be player joined. There we go. And here on the refresh player, we need to set our variable, like so, to be this from the input, so that now every single character would know what players are online, but we only want to use the information that the server has given us. So we are setting this for our local character from the input that we have received. So I will move this up a little bit, and I will do a loop now from this, basically from this players database. And now we need to split the pin, cast to third person character. So we are going to cast through every single character that we have, and we need to get the player name render, which is at the very bottom usually. Yeah, there we go. So basically this component right here is this one, and we need to set text on this one, like so. And the text comes from the loop array element player name, like this. So that's all. Now we can refresh players, and this is all set up for the replication and saving the players system. So now we should probably create something that will actually allow us to type in the name. So what I have already done is, in my UI folder, I have a widget blueprint that I've called UI begin play. And inside of here I have a couple of things. The first one is just a simple text which says please enter name, and make sure that once you have, if you have this, you actually don't have to have this, but I have created this. This one you need to scroll down till the behavior, and you need to make sure that the visibility is hidden, because by default it is visible. So make sure that this is hidden. And next we need to have a text box, which is this one right here, text box. And the last thing we need is a button. All of these needs to be variables, so is variable. And I have named these enter player please, enter name please, player name box, and play button. So now in the event graph, let's begin by clicking on the player name box, and I will do an event on text committed, and I will promote the text to a variable, and I'm gonna call this player name, like so. The next thing is on the play button on clicked, we are going to check if this player name actually contains something. I will do equals, and let's see, this needs to have an input, so I will duplicate this player name variable. I will call this empty name. If I compile this, you can see that the name is actually empty. Make sure that this is empty, and you can connect this right here. So this basically will check if we have entered a name. Whoops, clicking in the wrong places all the time. There we go. So if this is true, if we have not entered a player's name, then we want to get this enter name please. Let's get this, and let's set visibility on this one. Let's set this so this is true if this is empty. And then if if this is true, we want to make sure that this is set to visible, so that the please enter name text would appear. Then I'm gonna do a delay, and this delay, let's say, will be 5 seconds, and then we wanna set the visibility back to hidden. So set visibility, and let's set this to hidden, like so. So now we will have a small message, 5 seconds, that will say please enter the name. Now, but if this is false and we have actually typed in the player name, what we need to do is cast to third person character using the get owning player pawn as a reference. I guess it was the pawn. Yeah, it was the pawn. And now, as this third person character, we need to do a player joined event, and this player needs to be this player right here, or this reference as well fits. So one of these, and the player name needs to be the player name variable, like so. There we go. And let's see, the next thing what we should probably do is, I guess, nothing. I guess everything should be fine. We might have to add clear HUD event, but we will see. Maybe we can run it without it. So this is all set up, I guess. So we can close this now. And the next thing what we should probably do is now launch this. But to launch this, in the previous tutorials, I have created a lot of functions for create inventory, create build menu, create HUD, UI, chests, and all the other good stuff. And now I've also created a new function which is called create widget, which is basically the same function. Let me recreate this. What I've done is selected my inventory UI event. I have duplicated it by pressing Ctrl W, and I've called it create widget. And what we can do over here is delete this is inventory open, like so, and just simply drag the class in here, which when it will say add pin to node, and this will add an input of a user widget, like so. And this is basically all that we need to do. I suggest that if you have all of these functions just like me, the build menu, inventory, and I guess the character UI as well, yes, and maybe even the loading, well, loading one, no, loading is a different one. But the character, inventory, and the build menu can definitely go through this one, because we don't need that many events. I will not change this in the whole project, but I suggest that you do that and you change if you are running this one, run better this one. That will be way better, I think. So I'm rambling a lot today, I guess. The next thing we can, so this is all set up, we can go to our controller. So let me find my controller. So here is my controller, and now in our controller on begin play we need to cast to third person character, and we need to, let me see, what was it called, get some kind of pawn, was get controlled pawn. Yeah, here is the node, we need get controlled pawn, and as this third person character we need to create a widget. And this widget, now we can select our UI begin play. As simple as that. So this is set up, and if I'm not mistaken, I guess this should technically work already. So let's test this out. Let's press play. Let's host a new game. And this does not work, of course. I know why. Because in our third person character, in the event graph, if you have followed my series on the begin play event, you can see that here we have this clear HUD. So basically we are destroying the begin play widget. So let's delete this node. We no longer need this. So let's save this and let's press play again, host the game, and here we have a player name. So I will simply press play, and you see it says please enter name. So I will type, let's type QQQ, press play, and nothing happens. I guess that is because we do not really clear the HUD. So let's see. So we should go back to our UI begin play, and I was thinking already that we should probably create this here, but somehow I thought we don't, but we do. So here, once we have successfully joined the game, as this third person character we need to do our clear HUD event, like so. So basically we need to move this from the begin play to over here. So now everything should work just fine. Let's host the game, QQQ, press play, and you can see well, it's mirrored, but it does say what it needs to say. So let's join a game. Let's type in www, and the player doesn't know the name. So I've made a small mistake, which is super easy to fix. Go to your third person character, and here we will have our joined player joined. This needs to be ran on server, and this refresh players needs to be a multicasted event. So this is the mistake I made, so that's why the names didn't show up. But now if you go to the game, and this is an EEE and this is a WWW character, so they know each other and the names are visible on the top of their heads. So now we have identified our players and this works perfectly. Now let's start actually saving stuff. So for this, what I will do is create events. So let's see. Now we have these on the buttons and they are right here in the event graph. But what I will do is create a new function and I will call this save game. And in this save game, we are going to create save game object, and we need to select my save game object, and we need to get saves. So we have our saves, and also we need to drag in our players database like so. So now we can loop through our players database to see what players we have online. And once we have looped through our players, now we need to loop through our saves like so. And actually this needs to be with a break, so let's do a loop with break like so. That will be more convenient. We don't have to loop through unnecessary stuff. And the next thing what we need to do is we need to drag from our RI element. We need to break the result. We could split the pin, but if we split the pin, we have way too many results and we don't need that many results. All we need is the player name. But we do need to split the loop for our players database, like so. And what we can do now is check if this player name is equal to a player in our database, like so. And then we do a if branch check. So this basically checks if we already have a record about this player in our save game file, and if we do, then we are going to override it. If we don't have it, then of course we are going to create a new one. So the next thing what we should probably do is create a local variable, which I'm gonna call local player found, which needs to be a boolean single variable. And now we can set this. If this is true, then we are setting this to true because we have found a player and it does exist in our system. And then we can simply just break the loop like so. I will reroute this a little bit to make it more appealing to the eye. There we go. So this is set up. Now the next thing what we should do is in this completed, once we have completed the loop, the second one, then we need to cast to third person character using the object of a reference from our first loop, like so. This is getting a little complicated, so keep an eye out. The next thing what we need to do is do another if branch check to see if we have found somebody. So let's do this. So now if we have found somebody, then we need to set RI element like so, and the RI element needs to be this save. So I will again drag from this save game object and I will get saves. And I will move this way back here, or let me see, we should probably reroute this nicely so that it's not a big mess. There we go. And now we can, I will do another reroute actually. And now we can connect this saves to this RI, setting RI element, because we need to set an element inside of our saves. And the index needs to be an index from our second loop right here, and this is if we have found a player, then we are setting this up. So now from the item we need to make this structure like so, and I might actually move this even more back like so. And now we need to get all the variables from our player, and we need to set these in. The only thing that we can get is this player name can go directly in here, and everything else needs to come from this third person character. So let's do the get health. I will do a reroute over here, and I will get all the other variables as well. So now I have set up all the variables right here, all of them. And now let's see, now we should probably work on the false if we have not found a player. So what we need to do then is, again, we need to get our save. So I will get saves, or let me see, it's too far away. So yeah, I will get saves. I will do a reroute somewhere around here, I guess, should be good. Another reroute somewhere over here should be good. And I guess I need to move this back because it's too close. And from the false, we need to do a add to this array. So let's add. I will split the pin and connect this to the false. I will do a reroute for the name to get the name, the same name as for this one. And so basically we haven't found a player, so we need to add the variables. So again, we need to get all of these variables, but I will do just simply is copy all of these, move them over here, and connect this to the third person character, and reconnect all of these pins. So there we go. This is also set up. And the last thing that we need to do is go to the first loop, and once this loop is completed, we need to save game to slot. There we go. And the save game object is this one, the one we have here. And the slot name, what was the slot name again? Game slot 1, I guess. Make sure you remember this, we will need this in the load. So I will actually do a reroute over here and reconnect this like so. So this is all set up for the save, a little bit messy, but well, it is what it is. And yeah, I guess this is all set up nicely. Now we can go to our event graph, and here we have our save, and I will delete my single player system. I no longer need this. And also on keyboard 1 pressed, if this has authority, then we are going to save the game like so. So this works perfectly, and now we need another event for our loading. So let's create a new function, which I'm going to call, of course, load game. And this is going to be a lot more simpler. What we need to do is load game from slot, and the slot name was game slot 1. Then we need to cast to save game like so. And now we should probably add a input to the load game, because we need a our player name so we can find it, so that we don't have to load the game every single time, so that the server character wouldn't have to load the game every single time a player has joined. So we have this set up, and the next thing what we should probably do is get our saves. We should loop through the saves with a break, I guess, or let me see. Yeah, let's do this with a break. And we can split the pin. Oh, no. Recombine. Let's break the structure, and this will be a lot nicer node. And we need to check if the player name is equal to the input's given name, like so. So now let's do a if branch check, see if we have found a player, and then again another local variable which is gonna have the same name, local player found. And if we have found it, then of course we are setting this to true, and we are running the execution back to the break to stop the loop from unnecessary looping. I guess. So this is all set up. Let me move these up a notch. There we go. Now that this is all set up, what we can do is check to see if the player has been found. Now we need to get our players database, and we need to do another loop with a break. There we go, so true. And we can split this bin, and we need to find a player with an equal name to the player that has been found. So we can simply connect this up here, or yeah, we need to connect this up here like so. And let's do a if branch check to see if we have found it once more, just to make sure that this actually does work like it is supposed to, and we wouldn't run into any unnecessary issues. And once this is done, we can cast to third person character like so. So now this is actually all set up, and what we need to do is get all of our variables. Well, we need to set our variables, so set health, and for now I will do a set max health as well, but we need to do all of them. So we have gotten the variables, and now we need to go back to the saves loop, and we need to get this RI element. Whoops. We need to break this over here like so. Let me reroute things a bit. There we go. Now we can open this up and simply connect the health to health and max health to max health like so. And now let's get all the other variables that we need to set up. So I've gotten this far, and now we need to connect the third person character over here and just run these all in a line, just like we did in the previous video. So this is all set up. Now we can go to our event graph, and we can disconnect this keyboard 2 key. We no longer need this, but we want to be able to load the game on player join. So let's find our events for the player join and refresh, and let's see. Now that once the player has joined, we can also, from the third person character, we can drag and do load game like so, and connect the player name to, let's see, the player from over here, this one right here. So player name, there we go. So now we compile and save this. Let's press play, host the game, QQQ 127001, join the game, www. Let's pick up some items. So we have picked up quite a few items. This is our inventory. The server character presses the key 2. We leave the game, press play again, host the game, QQQ. This one joins www. And boom, our inventory is not. Maybe it just required some pin reconnections to be working, or maybe I didn't compile this successfully. But now if we would host a new game, and I will call this YouTube, the player is gonna be YouTube, and the joining player is gonna be is awesome, because YouTube is really awesome. It has so many great tutorials, videos, and information that we can learn from. So I will pick up some items on this character, and I will go and pick up some other items on this character. Now, as the server, I will press keyboard key 1 to save the whole thing. I will leave the game, and now if we join the game again, and this time is awesome, is gonna be our server character, and the client character is gonna be YouTube. So basically they are switched places. So you can see that this character has his items, and this character also has his items. So everything is working great. The multiplayer saving system is working. As of right now, it does not save the equipped items fully. It kinda does, it kinda doesn't, because if you are following my series only to create this project, the equipment is not being set up on the server side. It is only being set up on the client side. The only thing that is set up on server side is the visual side of the skeletal mesh that you can see on my head, in this case the hat, which follows our character. But we are going to work on this in the following videos. And now I have a really quick announcement to make for the players, for the viewers that are following the whole series. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to continue these series for much longer because I have a lot of things in my life going on right now. I'm about to move, and I will no longer be able to use this PC that I'm using right now, and I don't think that my laptop is going to be able to handle this project because my laptop is not that great. But the good news is a lot of people have enjoyed my build mode series, which I think is really great. But there are a lot of improvements that we can make on this. So somewhere around Christmas, New Year-ish, somewhere there, I will create a tutorial series for the build system, which is going to be way more better than this one, with a lot more capabilities of building creative stuff. And also I will be posting some tutorials on Blender, how to create your own models, your own items to add to your game. And also I will be sharing a lot of free assets as well, like I did in the previous videos. So thank you guys for staying, thank you guys for watching, thank you guys for subscribing, and share this with your friends. Develop awesome games, and I see you guys in the next video. Bye.